And more importantly, we have this Lord of the Rings series, which I have been a diehard Lord of the Rings fan since forever. I used to watch it every year. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I used to watch it every year. I would watch the whole trilogy through every year.
The whole shebang?
Yep.
That's a long trilogy, my friend.
Oh yes. And if I could get my hands on them, I'd watch the extendeds, but I didn't always have that opportunity. Yes, I mean so I'm obviously a big fan. So when I heard that the Lord of the Rings series came out, I'm like, finally we're getting some Lord of the Rings stuff back in, you know. So I mean, they don't really have the release date yet, but to put some context, Game of Thrones spent about spent about $10 million per episode in its final season. Okay.
Okay.
So that's some context for how much of $10 million goes towards a TV budget, especially in that genre.
I feel like it was just the dragon.
Oh yeah. Now
I think it was the dragon.
When Amazon, because remember there's a big bidding war for the Lord of the Rings rights. When Amazon bought the Lord of the Rings rights, they bought them for $250 million. Okay.
That's a nice chunk of change.
And part of that deal was I think it was actually like they spent that much on the rights, but they also had like this clause where they had to make at least 2 seasons of the show if they bought it. And then there was also like a budget for that or something. But the cost, so the $250 million just to buy it, right, for the rights. But they are projecting that the whole cost for making the show will be somewhere in the realm of $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Now, I don't know too much about this new. I'm really sorry about this, man. I feel like I kind of just left you stranded here because you're about to get fucked on.
I'm trying my best.
I feel like what can you tell me about the new Lord of the Rings startup? I didn't hear anything about it yet. So.
Boy, I can tell you. So the whole thing is projected to cost about, at the end of it, $1 billion, which is ridiculous because
that's a lot.
Yeah, and they're projecting to make about. This is surprising. They're actually they're estimating that they'll make about 20 episodes per season. So
okay,
that's a little bit different than what we're used to in these shows, these high quality shows. So I don't know what that means for the the quality per episode, the length per episode. Not really sure yet what that means. I'm definitely gonna die here.
You'll be fine. You got him, bud. Just keep heading.
But it's definitely, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know how to dodge this attack. I think that it's promising. They actually have. Do you remember in Game of Thrones there was the old flashbacks with Ned Stark?
When?
They had the flashbacks to the Tower of Love or whatever, and there was the young Ned Stark. Okay, in that the actor, his name was Robert Aramayo, and he just got casted as the lead role for the Game of Thrones or for the new Lord of the Rings series. That's another thing. They just released a ton of casting. A lot of them are relatively new stars.
I wouldn't do the jump too much. I feel like he's just catching you in the air and do more damage when you're on there. Definitely do more damage. That's interesting that they casted him. So
that's a pretty interesting casting choice because I think they're picking somebody. They're picking a lot of young stars without a big name to themselves yet, which is pretty significant because obviously it means that I died.
Oh.
It means that they're going. I feel like that means that when they pick somebody like lower actors that haven't made a name for themselves yet, I feel like they pick those people because they're looking for longevity, people that are going to stick for long contracts.
I mean, 20 episodes a season? How many seasons are they thinking about doing?
Well, I don't know that. I do know that they are, that it's taking place in the Second Age. So I'm just going to give you a little more information. It takes place in the Second Age, and which is about a few thousand years before the events of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay, a few thousand years.
Yes, it's actually like the Second Age we don't know a whole lot about, other than it's like a couple thousand year period, and they didn't tell us exactly when in that period, but their Instagram account basically was giving us this was basically giving us this like map where basically it was just Lord of the Rings on Prime, and it was doing like a quote about Middle Earth. And every post, they would reveal another portion of the map until the full map was like built out on Instagram, which is a pretty cool way of like doing their release stuff. But they revealed that like part of it's going to take place on this island off of Middle Earth, and like out. I think it was out towards the Undying Lands. I don't know. I have to kind of brush up on that, but it looks like it's going to be a super interesting series, and they're putting a lot of money into it.
A lot of money.
A lot of money into it. I mean, compared to, I don't know how much the Witcher series, money-wise, how much was put into that, but I highly doubt that it was as much anywhere near that amount. I mean, just looking back at The Witcher, I mean, the CGI wasn't that great in The Witcher. I didn't feel like it was. Did you think the CGI was pretty good?
I loved every moment of the CGI.
Really? I felt like at least the last episode with the mage battle, I felt like some of the CGI was kind of off. I don't know. I don't know if I can hit that guy.
Say it again, I apologize.
I felt like the CGI in the like last episode with the mage battle, I felt like that was
man, that was a little cheesy, yeah.
I felt it got a little cheesy. Everywhere else was not that bad. I just felt like that's particular scene. Oh, we almost got this guy.
I also looked it up. It was 80 million for the
80
Witcher.
million. Okay,
Yes,
so I mean
80 million.
So 80 million, and we're looking at like a couple $100 million per episode per season for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
That's a quality difference for budget.
yeah, you're talking another 20 million. You're just adding on there. That's a big chunk of change. So I mean, if 80 million can produce The Witcher, I feel like expectations are going to be a lot higher for this series, especially if they're spending the money on something like this.
Yeah. Now, granted, Witcher has the star power of Henry Cavill too, which is nice. But definitely, I mean, I gotta start hitting that thing. Yeah, dude, I'm hyped for it. I'm really hyped for the series. And then, honestly, what do you feel about the Game of Thrones prequel series? So the Game of Thrones prequel series, that's the third big part of this conversation. I mean, obviously, Game of Thrones is huge, so you're gonna have a lot of people carrying over. But then you also have, it's gonna take place. It's called, I think, they're gonna call it like House of Dragons or something like that, and it's basically gonna be about the Targaryen, or about the Targaryens, like the formation of the Targaryens or something, and also like their the battle between. I have to look it up. I actually have it right here. It's basically going to be. Ooh, we almost got him. Okay.
Done.
It's basically going to be about. Let me see if I can find the actual report here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about there was a Targaryen civil war. So people are projecting it's going to be all about the Targaryen civil war. Actually, this one's, I believe that was actually straight from HBO about that. So, and that's going to be coming out around 2022. So, I mean, obviously we still have a little bit of ways off, but any of these, you have to think all of these series are going to shoot for like 6 or 7 seasons, right? Or at least I'd assume.
I'm hoping.
Witcher may be on season 3, but then is it going to still be as good in season 3 to keep up with the release of this this Game of Thrones prequel? Or, we might have I would assume by 2021 we're going to have the Lord of the Rings series. So, in 2 years, is The Witcher going to have enough traction to keep up with a new Lord of the Rings series that's coming out with a ridiculous budget? I mean, The Witcher may have enough funding for that big of a budget by season 3, I mean, if they're doing well enough, they might increase the budget on that. And maybe it'll have a similar budget to the Lord of the Rings by then.